In any great story, the hero's journey is one where an individual is invariably plucked from his normal, everyday existence, his normal struggles. He's drafted by fate in the need to battle an insurmountable obstacle, an enemy whose power is beyond compare and seemingly beyond the capability of any individual to combat. The hero quickly gains in skill and support and seems to be making progress in his noble quest before invariably getting knocked down flat on his back, down for the count, with no appreciable path back into the fray. And miraculously rising from the ashes, eventually overcoming the great evil he has confronted. This is the story of Maximus the Gladiator, of Frodo Baggins, Luke Skywalker, and today, hopefully it is the story of Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, whose tale will mirror these noble warriors as he battles the dark forces of the radical left. As he emerges from near death, recovering day by day, Peterson has the potential to return as the verbal and mental Jedi that he has become. But that doesn't mean that evil has stopped fighting. Dr. Peterson, an unassuming Canadian psychology professor at the University of Toronto, was cast into the public spotlight when he confronted the postmodernistic authoritarian demand that speech be compelled, which would force the citizens of the great white North to utter someone's chosen pronouns, regardless if they wanted to or not, under threat of law. He stood strong against this attempt to mandate our speech and summoned his inner strength, stating that he would be willing to face whatever consequence might befall him for the stance that he took.
Well, so what am I willing to do? Well, I think that the Ontario Human Rights Tribunal is probably obligated by their own tangled web to bring me in front of it. If they find me, I won't pay it. If they put me in jail, I'll go on a hunger strike. I'm not doing this, and that's that. I'm not using the words that other people require me to use, especially if they're made up by radical left-wing ideologues.
He warned the entire world that the waters of our hard-fought-for civil liberties were heating up and that all of us frogs should take notice. And many, many people did, gravitating to his online lectures and the various debates that he's had, as well as his book, 12 Rules for Life, which implored people to take personal responsibility. In all, he galvanized millions of people to take actions that not only bettered their own personal lives, but those around them. The left, of course, would have none of it. How dare Dr. Peterson stand in the way of their communistic, postmodern fantasy of equity? At first, they threw the low-level monsters at him, and he dispatched them with great fanfare.
You're saying that trans activists could lead to the deaths of millions of people?
No, I'm saying that the philosophy that drives their utterances is the same philosophy that already has driven us to the deaths of millions of people.
Okay, you're just saying things, though, to provoke, aren't you? I mean, you are a provocateur.
I never say
anything. You're like
anything.
the alt-right that you hate to be compared to. You want to stir things up.
I'm only a provocateur insofar as when I say what I believe to be true, it's provocative. I don't provoke. Maybe for humor,
you don't set out to
now
provoke.
and then. I'm not interested in provoking.
Let me just get this straight. You're saying that we should organise our societies along the lines of the lobsters?
I'm saying that it's inevitable that there will be continuity in the way that animals and human beings organize their structures. It's absolutely inevitable. And there is 1/3 of a billion years of evolutionary history behind that. Right? That's so long that 1/3 of a billion years ago, there weren't even trees.
People quickly began to admire and appreciate this man, his intellect, his inner strength, his steadfastness, and his wit. And they delved into his teachings more and more online. He went on a worldwide tour, and he was like a rock star. Thousands of people would come to fill an auditorium to see him speak. I mean, we're talking $50 to $500 a ticket. And you might ask, who in their right mind would pay such a sum to see what amounted to essentially what is an hour and a half lecture that is readily available online? Me. I did. I saw Dr. Peterson speak at the Sony Center in Toronto in 2017 with thousands of other people. And was it worth it, you might ask? Yeah, I would say it was definitely worth it. I was giving over some money to a man who I greatly admired. And really what it was, in addition to the fact that it was almost like a payment for what I had learned from him from watching his online lectures and then, of course, in person, it was really more of a tithe for his ability to alter, with the gravity of his wisdom, to change the tides for millions of people around the world in a positive direction, where they were not only able to help themselves, but that rippled outwards and helped those around him. And I just figured that that was my little contribution. And perhaps some of you guys out there watching have been affected for the better by this man's teachings. And if that's the case, I really do invite you to leave a comment of your experience down below, because I would absolutely love to read them. Of course, despite his great success, those wishing to strike Peterson down came at him with increasing ferocity.
A backlash against masculinity, and a sense that there's something toxic about masculinity.
But what is this idea of being over? Why is society overly feminized?
Well, I didn't ever say that society was overly feminized. So if we're going to discuss my views, we should use my actual words.
In people being able to have different choices and having equality of outcome.
Aha. Well, so the overwhelming proportion of people who are in prisons are male. Now, do you want to equalize that, just out of curiosity? What about bricklayers? They're 99% male. And we've got about 3/4 of the population now in universities in the humanities and social sciences are female.
Yeah.
Are we going to equalize that? And men work longer hours. They work more dangerous jobs. They're more likely to move. They're more likely to work outside. They're more likely to participate in jobs in the STEM fields that are scalable. They make more money for those reasons. And that's all hidden under the idea that the reason that men and women make different amounts of money is because of their gender.
Yet Jordan continued his fight forward. He overcame adversity and hurdle after hurdle that was thrown at him, carefully battling the sinister monsters sent in his direction, lifting the tide of hope, of knowledge, with his carefully chosen laser-like words as he laid siege to the left's attempts to advance their dark vision of the world and their demands for your acquiescence to their control of your mind. And then our hero was struck down. His wife, the love of his life, Tammy, was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Peterson was already prone to health problems, being on a very strict, severe diet that limited the negative repercussions that food would have. His general practitioner upped his intake of benzodiazepines, which Peterson became physically addicted to, which then caused a very severe condition. And his family took him to the best health centers in the West, in Connecticut, in Canada, that only made his condition worsen. Out of options, his family flew him privately to Moscow and Russia and put him in a hospital where it was expected that the odds of his survival were incredibly low. They put him into a medically induced coma and then attempted to detox his system from the benzodiazepines. The man was literally knocked on his back, down for the count, the referee standing over him at 9, between 9 and 10. And the left-wing press back home resonated with glee that a man that preached personal responsibility could have allowed such a fate to befall himself. Jordan Peterson would be heard from no longer. He would die, he would have brain damage. This voice of reason and light and sanity would be extinguished to allow their dark hell, masked under the guise of fighting oppression, to slowly inch forward. Well, miraculously, despite contracting COVID while recovering in Serbia, Dr. Peterson is on the mend. As we all know, he's healing. Of course, the left cozied up to him, as the Times of London recently did, kindly and supportingly asking him for an interview, which his publishers at Penguin Random House disapproved of. They wanted to get the Petersons wanted to get, as his book is due out March 2nd, they wanted to get the health ramifications and just explain it all, so that isn't an issue on the book tour. They thought they were going to be able to do that with this interview. But unfortunately, the writer, the editor, were apparently incredibly evil, and they tried to smash him and his daughter Michaela, who saved his life with everything that she did, on the rocks of hatred with their write-up, which I'm going to cover in my next video specifically. So make sure to subscribe to the channel for that. Hit the notification bell, all notifications. Yes, they absolutely did attempt to harm our Jedi in his fragile state while he was recovering. But there's good news, because we can all send Dr. Peterson our wishes of healing and well-being. He has mentioned on numerous occasions that knowing that he has support has given him strength. So let's all do that in some form or another. And let's hope that in this third act, where the hero returns, the return of the king, the return of the Jedi, and that we can all take his lessons to heart to improve our own lives and fight against the advancing darkness of the empire of wokeness. God bless Dr. Peterson, and may the Force be with you. If you like this video, thumb it up, like button blue, endorphin hit when you do, subscribe, notification bell, all notifications, and share the video. May the Force be with you too.